I thought he was 4 days late. For subjective thought I would use, but I found out that he was right on time. You know, so many times in life we find ourselves in situations where we think that God has not came to please us or to deliver us from our situation just yet. But I will have you to know that within this story there was a dead man. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you still have life and activity of your limbs, then he is still helping you. Somebody didn't wake up this morning, so I found that as long as you are alive and well, then he is helping you. Sometimes we feel like he is 3 or 4 days late, or maybe a day or so late, but I want to tell you that even when you feel like he is not there, he is right there. How can you say he's right there, preacher? Because he is everywhere at the same time. What I'm trying to say, he is that type of God, and Jesus is that type of son, where no matter what you're going through or what situation you may be faced with, he is right there. So even when you feel like he's a few minutes late, or a few hours late, or a few moments late, or a few seconds late, I want you to know that he is right there. Somebody say, right there. See, when you stand in a situation where you need something for the Lord, you have to understand that you are messed up. First and foremost, we are all messed up. Second and third most, I am messed up. I am. We're going to look there at verse 3 for a moment. Verse 3 says, therefore the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. Now, y'all need to know that there was a certain man named Lazarus who was sick of Bethany, the town where Mary and her sister Martha lived. It was Mary who anointed the Lord with the fragrant oil and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. See, Mary had an understanding that it's nothing wrong doing something for Jesus. But see, a lot of us feel today, what can I do for Jesus? He knows and can have and can do whatever he likes, but you can tell somebody about it. You know what? And then you can do it like this. You don't have to walk around giving folks scriptures every time somebody done told you what they're doing wrong. You can just go to them and let your light shine. See, the word says that Jesus gave it to me, and I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. See, so many times we send people back in the wrong direction, all because somebody don't hear me up in here. We send people back in the wrong direction, all because of what we think. But see, sometimes man can get in God's way, or in other words, you can make interference in his mission. What are you saying, preacher? Well, just because you went through something and you feel like he didn't show up for you when you wanted him to, now when somebody else begins to talk about them, you want to try to criticize the situation, not understanding that even when he was 3 or 4 days late for you, he was still right on time. All right. So I don't need your scriptures. If you're going to help me, then let your light shine. Let me see the word in you. Don't let me know what you remember or what you read. Let me see the word in you. Because I found out that with a light can guide you where you need to go. If a man walks in darkness, he shall surely stumble. But if your light is shining, I can follow you to where you are going. Do y'all hear me up in here? I'm trying to help somebody. My first point will come from right there in verse 3. And that is the petition. They made their petition known. They said, the one whom you love is sick. In other words, he has an illness. We don't know exactly what it was. Maybe in a high fever, maybe in some type of disease, but he had an illness. But yet, they knew that there was a need to make their petition known. See, when you need something from God, nobody knows your need. But when you're willing to tell him about it, just don't assume that he already knows about your sickness. See, you got to go to him and tell him about your situation. They said that if you have not because you ask not. See, a lot of folks stayed at home in the bed because it was a little thunder and lightning. But let me tell you what happened this morning. God said somebody's going to be blessed today, but I'm going to send a little thunder and a little rain. I'm just going to see who's going to stay at home and not come and praise me. But see, you can't get a blessing at home. Do you understand what I'm saying? When Sunday morning comes and he has brought you all through the week and you decide to lay down on him, then you are messing up. Well, how do you know that, preacher? Because I am messed up. I have laid in the bed before on Sunday morning, and look, I'm talking about me. I ain't criticizing nobody but myself. I have laid in the bed on Sunday morning and decided I'm just going to lay here a little while longer. I'll get up about 30 minutes, and next thing I know, it was 11:15. And then myself, my flesh, my skin said, well, you might as well go and get you some rest now, and everything will be all right. But as a matter of fact, everything was not all right because I did not get the word that I needed to take me through that day. I'm trying to help somebody because see, sometimes in order for you to understand what a deacon has to go through or a deacon's job, you have to be a bench warmer. So for the last 2 years of my life, I had to take myself back. I went back for a little while to being a bench warmer because God called me at an early age and I needed to understand. Are y'all feeling me? I needed to understand what this thing was all about. Now in my mind, I could preach, but I found out that I cannot preach. I found out that you got to trust and depend on the Holy Ghost. So I don't get in God's way anymore. I didn't sit down and try to prepare a big message like I normally do. I told my wife on yesterday, that is not my business. That is the Lord's business. All I got to do is study to show myself approved. Somebody said, let him do it. In other words, let the Holy Ghost have his way. See, sometimes we get in God's way trying to do it of ourselves, but he only needs you as a vessel. In other words, he needs you to be like this soda bottle. Just let him put something on the inside, and then you turn it over, and it'll come out in somebody. Somebody say somebody. You'll be blessed. Well, on this mission of being a bench warmer, to myself, I said, you know you can preach. I'm ignorant. I'm dumb. I still ain't figured it out yet. And I still have not figured it out yet. Not of myself. So I went back to being a bench warmer. Would preach when somebody called me and tell me to preach. But God was on a mission to teach me that there is something that you need to understand, Jason. Now, I have blessed you with a great gift. And you're going to, as a vessel, help many people along the way. But you got to get Jason out of my way. If you get yourself out of my way, I can roll this thing forward. I can't speak for nobody else, but I was tripped up a few times when people say, you need to go to school. I said, well, ain't nothing wrong with school for those who want to go to school, but I feel like God knows everything. And if there's anything that he wants me to know, he will tell me himself. Now, school is a good place to go because you can learn, but see, sometimes we find ourselves doing things because of the lack of faith. And man will trip you up because what do they do when you go to school? You got to buy your lunch. Y'all can't hear me up in here. You got to pay for the space that you are taking up. The teachers got to get paid. The Bible told us for the love of money is what? Y'all gonna say it. The many have convinced after they pierce themselves through the what? Many sorrows. What I'm trying to say is that man has set this thing up where they can get paid. God know everything. He can save millions of people. He'll deliver millions of people, and he's a few days late. But we got to understand, we got to keep God and ourselves last. But it is good to get your education, but because on the other hand, you cannot make it without an education because that's the system of this world. Now the petition, you got to have the understanding. This petition that they made known, they were not the first ones to make this petition known. Blind Bartimaeus made his petition known and they told him to shut up. They told him to be quiet. They told him it don't take all of that. But see, the problem I found is that you don't know my situation. You don't know what it is or what it ain't. I know that it's not proper English, but it don't take for me. You don't know what it's going to take for me to get out of my mess. You don't know what it's going to take for me to be delivered. You don't know what it's going to